Have you ever contemplated the profound enigma of why humans transition from nomadic bands to complex state structures? This pivotal shift remains a cornerstone of our collective history as we explore the eighth most significant event in the top 100 occurrences of human existence. What specific environmental pressures or cognitive shifts ignited the spark of centralized authority across the diverse landscapes of the ancient world? We must investigate the intricate mechanisms that allowed thousands of strangers to cooperate under a single sovereign entity across different continents. Before we commence this deep exploration, it is imperative to note that the formation of states ranks 8th among the top 100 most influential events in human history. This ranking reflects its unparalleled impact on every subsequent development in law, culture, and technology. Our comprehensive investigation will dissect this phenomenon through 9 rigorous academic stages, providing a detailed tapestry of our ancestors' journey towards civilization. We begin our odyssey by examining the ecological catalysts that first disturbed the long-standing hunter-gatherer equilibrium during the late Pleistocene. Approximately 10 millennia ago, shifting planetary orbits triggered massive climatic oscillations that radically altered the distribution of vital resources across the globe. Vast regions that once supported abundant wildlife became increasingly inhospitable, forcing biological populations into narrow, fertile corridors near dwindling water sources. This geographical constriction led to an unprecedented concentration of diverse human lineages within the floodplains of great rivers like the Tigris and Euphrates. Population density reached critical levels, creating a social pressure cooker that necessitated entirely new forms of communal organization and conflict resolution. As arable land became a scarce commodity, competition between neighboring bands intensified, leading to frequent skirmishes and territorial disputes that threatened survival. The old ways of simply moving to new territory were no longer viable in a world where every fertile pocket was occupied. Survival now demanded a permanent commitment to a single location, marking the definitive transition from nomadic wandering to settled agricultural life in fixed villages. This sedentary existence required a complete reimagining of social property rights and the inheritance of territorial boundaries across generations. The realization that artificial irrigation could multiply crop yields led to the undertaking of massive hydraulic engineering projects far beyond any individual's capability. These gargantuan tasks demanded the synchronized labor of thousands, necessitating a centralized intelligence to plan and oversee the construction of water management systems. Engineering these canals was not merely a technical feat, but a social revolution that cemented the foundations of institutionalized power and collective responsibility. The management of water became the primary driver for social hierarchy, as those who controlled the flow held the ultimate leverage over the community's survival. Free from the daily struggle for sustenance, a portion of the population dedicated themselves to refining technologies and artistic expressions previously unimaginable in nomadic life. These specialists relied on the centralized distribution of food, further entrenching the need for a formal administrative structure. Individual leaders emerged who could successfully coordinate these large-scale projects, eventually consolidating their influence into permanent and often hereditary positions of authority. This concentration of decision-making power was the initial spark that ignited the transformation of communal villages into proto-state entities. To track these massive surpluses and manage the growing population, early states developed the first systems of writing and record-keeping in specialized administrative centers. These bureaucratic tools allowed the ruling elite to quantify their power and enforce taxation with mathematical precision and permanent documentation across the realm. Codified law emerged as a vital necessity to standardize justice and commerce across vast territories where oral traditions were no longer practical for large populations. These written statutes provided a predictable framework for social interaction, further legitimizing the state's monopoly on the use of judicial power and organized force. State formation was frequently accelerated by organized warfare, as the need for military protection demanded efficient taxation and a centralized command structure. Conflict between neighboring polities, often resulted in the absorption of smaller units into larger, more complex imperial systems protected by disciplined armies. The early rulers often justified their authority by claiming a direct connection to the divine, positioning themselves as intermediaries between the gods and the common people. This religious sanction provided a powerful psychological tool to maintain social cohesion and discourage dissent among the diverse growing populace. The Nile River served as a natural artery for trade and communication, allowing the Egyptian state to centralize its power across hundreds of miles of fertile land. Long-distance exchange of luxury goods further enriched the ruling elite and stimulated the growth of specialized bureaucratic roles and artistic expression. In the Indus Valley, cities like Mohenjo-Daro showcased an unprecedented degree of urban planning, featuring complex drainage systems and standardized brick architecture. This remarkable consistency across vast regions indicates a high degree of administrative coordination and a stable state-level social organization. The Yellow River Valley witnessed the rise of early Chinese states that utilized massive earthen fortifications to protect their growing agricultural surpluses and urban centers. These early dynasties established the foundations of a political culture that prioritized centralized authority and a highly structured social hierarchy for millennia. Vast trade networks connected these early states, facilitating the movement of precious metals, exotic materials, and specialized knowledge across formidable desert and mountain barriers. These interregional exchanges not only fueled economic growth but also fostered the development of sophisticated diplomatic and military strategies. The accumulation of immense wealth in the hands of the elite is most clearly visible in the lavish royal burials that included priceless gold artifacts and elaborate rituals. These monuments to power reflected a society that was deeply stratified, with a clear distinction between the ruling class and the productive labor force. Across the ocean, Mesoamerican civilizations independently developed complex state structures centered around vibrant marketplaces and monumental ceremonial plazas. The trade of high-value commodities like obsidian and cocoa beans supported a burgeoning administrative class and a powerful priestly elite who interpreted the divine will. The growth of the state necessitated an army of scribes and administrators who spent their days recording, calculating, and documenting every aspect of the collective life. This intellectual labor was the unseen engine of the state, providing the data needed for long-term planning, monumental construction, and large-scale social engineering. As states became more complex, they developed sophisticated diplomatic protocols to manage relations with neighboring powers, using formal envoys and written treaties to resolve conflicts. These regional systems of state-to-state interaction form the earliest precursors to the modern international order that governs our global society today. Successful states eventually expanded into vast empires, absorbing their neighbors through a combination of military conquest and economic integration over several centuries. This final stage of early state formation created the expansive geopolitical entities that would dominate the historical record for subsequent millennia. We have witnessed the arduous journey of our species from decentralized bands to the complex, institutionalized societies that define our modern existence today. The formation of states was not merely a change in governance, but a fundamental evolution in human cooperation and collective ambition. Thank you for accompanying us on this epic historical odyssey through the 8th greatest event in human history. Please subscribe and like this video. 구독과 좋아요를 눌러주세요. 감사합니다.